The gospel of Jesus Christ in this present age has to be a message of diversity that tears down barriers and begins to help people begin to have a larger issue. It is wonderful that we are middle class and we made it, and some of us haven't really made it. We're just kind of holding on for dear life. Baby, I don't know about you, but I think it's a good day. My ends don't have to meet. As long as they just wave at one another, I'm happy. But listen. If we are talking about a gospel that is relevant, we can't separate gospel from politics. We can't separate gospel from the economy. We can't separate people who are homeless and hungry from people who are affluent and well off. Because if we don't get in the mix of those things, because if you don't have a moral compass that influences your politics, then the politics are not going to come out favorable. And it doesn't matter who you vote for, you vote your conscience. But understand that every decision that you make in a political arena has its consequences. The church can no longer afford to see itself as an island. The church has to become a peninsula that extends itself into the community. This church doesn't need a name of a Sunday school class. What we need is some urban missionaries, people who will get out of this building and walk these streets. Now see, what you don't know is that several weeks ago, I'm on the board of visitors for Lincoln University, so I was up at Lincoln a couple of weeks ago, and I came and spent an afternoon in your community. I drove through your parking lot. Some of your members waved at me. They said, "Who is that strange guy? He ain't from around here nowhere." But you know why I did it? Because I wanted to see where the opportunities were for this church to be in ministry. All right. And you say, well, you know, this is now a business community. And we don't, then why don't you do something that speaks to the corporate need? Do you think that the people next door don't need Jesus? Do you think that they don't want to be in small group ministry? Do you think that they don't have the same hard desire that you have to live a better, more morally focused and grounded life? But it means we have to do stuff differently. Instead of setting up a table on the lawn and cleaning chitlins and frying fish and chicken. Come on, baby. Those days are behind us. Amen. Y'all can skip the congregational meeting next week and just write your check down. Come on. And your tithing check. Amen. Oh, I'm meddling now. Let me move on. Listen. I'm trying to bring this message home. When we talk about a ministry of reconciliation, the reconciliation first begins between me and thee. All right, let's face it, everybody in the church is not in good relationship with one another. That's why they always have two sides of the church, for them and us. Y'all laughing. When I first started out in ministry, I served, when I was in seminary, I served a church in a place called Cedartown, Georgia. And they built a church and they had two front doors, literally two front doors. There were two families in that church and they were worse than the Hatfields and the McCoys. And they had two front doors and they both would come through the two front doors. One family would sit on one side, one family would sit on the other side. They had two sets of ushers, they had two sets of everything. I wasn't the pastor of that church. I pastored the church down the road. When I went and I asked the pastor, I just had one question. What do y'all do when y'all have a funeral? Split the body in half? Oh, hallelujah. Come on now. One faith, one Lord, one. Stick with me for a moment. The gospel in a contemporary sense challenges us to come here to learn the language, to learn how to invite other people into a relationship, but to go and do those things in our normative secular settings. In other words, if you can't invite somebody to Christ down at the library or the grocery store or in your community or your place of work, then this church is failing you. All right. It's not enough just to roll up in here on Sunday morning, get your spiritual fix, and then roll on out and think, I got it until next time. If you don't leave here convicted if you don't leave here feeling like I need to somehow do something between the Sundays to represent Christ and the message that I'm hearing. See, that's how the church is different. Way back when, I grew up in a household that everybody in my house went to church on Sunday morning. It was not optional. When my father started this car, everything in that house that had breath better be on the back seat. All 5 of us, you understand? And we went to morning service, and we went to afternoon service, and then we ate, and then we went to evening service. And guess what? We had church clothes. Church clothes. Yes, and we had church clothes. And you wore your church clothes all day, and when you took them off, they looked just like you put them on. Because you didn't do nothing in church. Amen. You better not do nothing in church. My mama had eyes so good that if I went in the fellowship hall and she was singing in the choir, she'd say,